For episode 5 of our Design Academy, we're going to be looking at creating text within Adobe Illustrator with the type tool. This is going to be a pretty basic guide. There's a lot to know about working with type and text within design, and there's a lot that you can do with it in Adobe Illustrator. But this video is going to cover the basics and get you to a point that you can start working with it in your designs. We'll start off by going over a couple things about the type tool and then do a quick design exercise at the end. So to start, let's go ahead and find our type tool. It's going to be located on this left toolbar, and it's going to be this T-shaped icon here. So if you go ahead and click on that and then click anywhere in your workspace, that will create a body of text. Now at first it's going to be lorem ipsum, which is the placeholder text in Adobe Illustrator. But because it's already highlighted, if you start typing, it will go ahead and replace that that placeholder text. Once we've got something written here, we can go ahead and go to the selection tool. That'll bring up our transformation box here. And if we go ahead and go to the corner of that box, you'll see this 45-degree arrow. If you click and hold while holding the Shift key, you can go ahead and expand that out while maintaining the proper aspect ratio. You release that click before you release the Shift key. If you click and drag without having the Shift key hold, as you'll see, that will warp your text, which generally we want to avoid. If you select the type tool again, you'll notice that this cursor will change if you scroll over existing text. If you want to create new text, you're going to want this cursor with the dotted lines around your type icon, and that'll create a new piece of text. However, if you want to go in and edit your existing text, scroll over until you see this regular type icon without that outline, and then that'll allow you to click into your existing text. You can highlight it, type a different word, or anything like that. Now that we have some type in our document, if we select that type, we can see some new options along our top toolbar here. Let's look at this longest drop-down box first. This is where we'll be able to select a font. As you can see, there's a lot of different font options. If there's one that you're specifically looking for, you can start to type that font up in the top box here. For now, I'll select Avenir Black. Moving to the right, the smaller drop-down box allows you to select a font style. Now, certain font families have a lot of styles, such as Avenir, while other fonts will only have a couple options, like maybe regular and bold. Moving to the right again, here you have a box that allows you to select a specific font point size if you want to be more specific than just clicking and dragging as we did in the beginning of the video. You can either use these arrows to fine-tune the font size by one point at a time, use the drop-down options here, or click into the box to manually enter a specific point size. For example, if I were to type 300 and hit enter, I now have a 300-point font. Next, let's go ahead and look at the character panel here along the top toolbar. If we click on the word character here, this will open up this characters panel. Now, most of the options in here we're not going to look at until a later, more advanced video, but for now, let's just take a quick look at two of the features within this panel. If we look at the all caps button down here, by clicking this, you can toggle between the normal type that you originally created and an all caps version. This is helpful for quickly toggling between a caps and non-caps version without having to retype the word every time. Next, let's look at this tracking tool right here. It is the VA in a box with the arrows underneath. This window is going to allow you to change the tracking, which is the distance between each character in your word. As with the type size window, you can either select something from the drop-down box here, or you can type in a custom figure and hit enter. Finally, let's learn how to change the color of our type. Colors work the same for any object in Illustrator, and we will cover this topic much more in depth in a later video, but for now, let's just take a quick look at how it works. With your type object selected, go down here to the color selecting window. If you scroll over this black box and double click it, it will open your color picker window. Here, you can change the hue that you have selected by grabbing these markers and sliding them up and down. Once you've selected a hue you like, I'll go with this teal color. You can click anywhere in this bigger box to select a specific tone, or click and drag to fine tune. Once you have a color selected that you like, you can hit OK, and now your type will be that color. Now that we have a basic understanding of how type works and how to work with it within Illustrator, let's hop into a quick design exercise. Here I've got a type-based design that I made for the thumbnail of this video. We're going to go ahead and recreate that in this quick exercise. Alright, so I'm going to be moving through this exercise pretty quickly and just doing a voiceover to explain what I'm doing. We might be covering some things in this exercise that we haven't really done in the series yet, or learned in the series yet, but we will have episodes on that later on. So if you feel a little bit lost, don't be too worried about that. And just try to do your best to keep up or skip the steps that seem confusing. So you'll see here that I created another layer and put that layer on the bottom and then locked it to create my background. And I just do this so that as I'm creating my graphic, I don't have to worry about accidentally selecting my background or changing it or anything like that. So here I am selecting my font, getting that set up. I'm using Avenir Black, and you'll see me here going in and toggling on the all caps option and then setting my tracking to 400. Now here what I'm doing is I'm creating duplicates of that word that I just created, because I know I'm going to be using the same font later in my design. I'm doing that by selecting the original piece of text and then clicking and dragging while holding the Alt key, and that's going to create a copy within my document. Here I'm just now editing those copies to be closer to what they're going to look like in the final design. And then now I'm going to go ahead and create my type word, which is in a different font if you remember the original design. So here I'm going to be using Reclaim Script is the font that I'm using. Now if you don't have this font and you're not seeing it in your font catalog, what you're going to want to do is in the fonts drop down, go to Find More, and then this is going to be the Adobe Cloud font catalog. You can find a font that you want, and then using that little cloud cursor or cloud icon on the side, click that and that'll download it to your font catalog. So the next thing I'm going to do is click and drag to select everything that I've created so far, and then once everything is selected here, I will hold the Alt key and drag it over to the side to make a copy, just so that I've got a working copy on the side. Next, I select my type graphic in the middle here, go to Effect, Warp, Rise, and this is going to give me that kind of slanted look that we're going for in this design. When you're working with that effect, you're going to want to make sure you have the preview box checked so that you can see the live update of what it's doing to your design as you're working with it. There, just created another copy of that graphic there, and then I went to Object, Expand, and or Expand Appearance, and what that did was it turned my type graphic there into an actual shape. I'm grabbing that graphic now and making a duplicate with the Alt key. I went to Object, Arrange, Send to Back. Then I grabbed the eyedropper tool to select my background color, and then the color picker window to select a lighter tone of that color. And then I'm going to select the top type graphic, make that white, and now I've got that white and light teal drop shadow effect going on there. Now I'm going to select both of those, hit Command G to group them, and then go to my line panel and align them to the middle and the center. I'll go ahead and bring a ruler out and snap it to each edge of that, and I'll be using that now, as you'll see, to align my other text to that center graphic. If you don't see the rulers in your Illustrator document, what you can go ahead and do is hit Command R, and that's going to bring those up. And then you'll just click on that ruler, click and drag, and that'll drag a ruler out for you into your workspace. Now here I'm selecting all of the remaining text at once, going to Object, Arrange, Bring to Front, and that way it's going to overlap that middle type graphic like I want it to for this design. So again, here I'm just continuing to kind of line everything up. Here I'm dragging down this word to stack it onto Illustrator in that negative space. I'm going to bring both of those up at the same time there. And then I'll use the arrow keys with the in Adobe text selected to just nudge that down a little bit and get it lined up precisely. I'm going to go ahead and select all of those, use the eyedropper tool to select the background color again, and this time I will go ahead and select a tone slightly darker. So then I just erase the rulers, and now I'm just kind of toggling between the original design and the one that we just created. And as you can see, we did a pretty good job of recreating that design. So this is a great design exercise you can do. You can try to follow along and create this design, or you can go online and find your own interesting, cool graphics that are mostly type-based, and then just kind of play around with it. And this is a great way to practice with the type tool without having to worry about being creative or creating your own designs. but rather trying to duplicate something that's already out there, so that you're kind of familiarizing yourself with fonts while you're trying to match those fonts, and then familiarizing yourself with the different type tools as you try to match that design. So in our next episode, we're going to go over the pen tool and how to create custom shapes with Illustrator, and we'll start to kind of be able to combine type and shape to create some more complex designs.